In a political climate where representatives of the president-elect literally say facts don't exist, it's more important than ever to stay informed. I know, if you knew me a couple of years ago, you are rolling on the floor laughing right now. I used to be that girl who didn't want to talk, think, or act about politics and just wanted to live my life. Oh, how that girl has changed. I'm not in politics or journalism, but I am in libraries, and a big part of my job is to help people find and evaluate information. This video is going to come to you in 3 parts. 1, my information commandments, 2, my sources, and 3, vetting. Part the first, my information commandments. If I was creating a religion based around the vetting of information, these are the things I would send down the mountain on carved stone tablets. Or at least what I've inscribed in my information vetting holy books. Carved stone is so 4000 BCE. 1. Twitter is not gospel. The same goes for Facebook and Tumblr and all social media. I recently overhauled my Twitter feed to delete people whose content I found uninteresting and to add people who would keep me informed and updated. That largely means I added a lot of political people and journalists, some of whom I went to school with and helped me expand my circle outwards. Even these people are fallible though, so always take what you see on Twitter with a grain of salt. The same goes for Facebook and Tumblr and any social media site. 2. 2 sources are always better than 1. And I don't just mean 2 people linking to the same story. 2 different stories from 2 different outlets about the same thing will always be better than just 1. Of course, something breaking might only have 1 source yet. Keep in mind though that that's brand new, and brand new information is sometimes suspect or incorrect. 3. Use your common sense. If something sounds illogical, unlikely, or hyperbolized, it probably is. To a degree, journalism has always been like this. They needed to sell papers, remember? But I think that it's increased as our sources have increased. We do live in the era of clickbait. Additionally, there is a lot of fake news out there, so be skeptical. 4. Use your basic research skills. I know we haven't all had the privilege of a university education with professors that emphasize research and analysis of that research, but what most of us in the US do have is access to the wonderful Google box that lets you do free research at any time of night. If you don't have access to it at home, go to the library. If something seems suspicious, you should Google the outlet, and then Google that name plus bias. And search for a corroborating story. See Commandment 2. For media bias, my favorite tool is allsides.com, which analyzes the news sources and lets you know on a 5-point scale whether they lean left, right, or center. For research of legislation, I recently discovered the website legiscan.com, which lets you see the actual text of bills filed in the United States at the federal and state levels. I'm keeping a close eye on several bills filed here in Missouri. 5. Educate yourself on context. A lot of news stories about politics or government or justice will reference laws or Supreme Court cases or precedents that just don't make sense if you're not steeped in that world. I know, I'm not steeped in that world. So use that wonderful free Google box to educate yourself on the context of a story and deepen your understanding. I also recommend Crash Course, which I'm using to build my context. 6. Actually read the articles. Headlines are designed to grab your attention, so sometimes they seem a little insane. They've been sensationalized. But the title isn't the whole story. It can't be. So you need to read the article to see what's really going on. We live in the era of clickbait, and headlines aren't stories. 7. Subscribe to reputable news sources. I subscribe to a handful of these by email, and they'll vary depending on where you are. You should have a mix of national and local sources. This dovetails nicely into the next part of the video. Keep watching. Part the second, my news sources. When I was growing up, the New York Daily News was my mom's newspaper, the Daily Post was my dad's newspaper, and the New York Times was my teacher's newspaper. Then when I was in college, I somewhat irregularly read USA Today because we got it free on campus. Now I get my news electronically because honestly, who can afford a newspaper subscription? Rather, I subscribe to daily emails from 4 newspapers: the New York Times, the Washington Post, USA Today, and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, as well as emails from my senator, Claire McCaskill, my state-level senator's weekly press release emails, and the Skimm. I've actually been a subscriber of the Skimm since its inception, but my readership has waxed and waned over the years. On top of these, I also get the Levo Brief, which is more about women in the workplace than politics, This Week in Science, News from Science, the Medium Daily Digest, and a ton of email subscriptions about political action against what I unaffectionately call the dumpster fire administration. The New York Times emails I get are morning, evening, and weekend briefings. The Washington Post emails I get are the 5-Minute Fix, that's my favorite. The Daily 202, that's my second favorite. Politics PM and Evening Edition. The Post-Dispatch emails I get are 3 O'Clock Stir and Political Fix. Gotta keep up with local news. The USA Today emails I get are Daily Briefing, Shortlist, Policing the USA, and books. I do also read my hyperlocal, once-weekly county newspaper. Small towns. And one more thing, your local library probably has subscriptions to local and national newspapers. Mine does. Ask at the desk. Part the third, vetting information. Every source has some bias. Bias is just a fact of life. You can listen to me talk more about this in my Objectivity is a Myth video from last year, because objectivity is, in fact, a myth. Journalists and publications can aim for objectivity, and they should, but they'll never actually achieve it. So, taking bias as a given, we know we need to vet the information we're presented. But how? My first suggestion is to go back to Information Commandment 3, use your common sense. Read an article that seems insane? It might be. There are a lot of fake news sites out there, and in the description I have a link to an article about them. So check that list if the source isn't well known. Misinformation can still happen anywhere though, so we're not done yet. Next up, check the publication's bias rating on allsides.com. I found that fairly recently, maybe 2 months ago, and I've been using it non-stop. When you go on the website, click search and enter the name of the publication. There's a 5-level rating system with the most left being of course the most liberal and the most right being of course the most conservative. Then some fall in the middle like Politico and The Hill. You can also use this website to search a particular issue and see articles on both sides and in the middle. Particularly helpful if you're doing a research project. Always try to find a second source for a story. 2 is always better than 1. There's a reason that's an information commandment. Also, don't forget that you can research the legislation yourself as well. You can read the actual text and the actual words being used. I know I mentioned it before, but Legiscan.com is a really, really useful tool. Staying informed is more important than ever, and we all have to do it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you, heater. Oh, thank you, heater.